What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about knees over toes training, briefly discussing what it is, but specifically how a total gym can be an ideal piece of equipment to actually work and train this way if you guys are interested in doing so. Now, there's probably a lot of you guys who've never even heard of this type of training. I'll put information down in the description box if you guys are curious for more resources from the originator, Ben Patrick, if you guys are curious. But I also know that this is a very popular type of training, or I just should say a way of training, or just you could say a concept of training, whereby you're literally doing something that traditionally in the fitness realm was essentially shunned upon and frowned upon to never do, which is literally training with your knees going above and beyond your ankles or your toes. Now, even though this has been around for a while now, I get so many questions, and I'm like, on the back burner, I'm like, I knew I had to cover this eventually because it's just so popular. For me personally, it just wasn't something I really looked into. I looked into it a little bit and actually found that a lot of the things that I'm kind of seeing what he was saying, the originator Ben Patrick, I actually found to be very true of myself, my own level of kind of flexibility, and how I kind of considered mobility and strength to kind of work together and improve with overall function and integrity. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics too much in this video. There's just plenty of other resources out there, and this video will go on way too long. But the general idea is that by training and doing things where your knee is going beyond your ankle or beyond your toe, you are kind of doing what you think is the opposite. Instead of kind of damaging and giving yourself kind of patellar tendon pain or just kind of general knee pain by training this way, the argument is that since you're not doing these exercises, these movements that often, your muscles and your integrity and your joint structure all around your knee area essentially is getting kind of stiff and lax, and it's lacking range of motion. And therefore, when you do certain exercises you're not really used to doing, it causes a lot of pain. And so essentially what he likes to say, Ben Patrick, is that by lengthening, you're strengthening. So it kind of seems counterintuitive. If you're looking at some of his videos on YouTube, or you initially kind of see it, it might look like some sort of hokey, weird kind of circus act of contorting yourself in different positions and ranges of motion. But honestly, that's kind of how I feel like a lot of flexibility is. You progressively have to work your way into a deeper range of motion, and then assuming you're not overdoing it and not jumping too far ahead, you'll kind of maintain that joint integrity and strength in your given joints and ligaments. Now, the more I looked into Ben Patrick's kind of rationale of why he was promoting this excessive knees over toes kind of philosophy or way of moving, definitely I would say it was probably unorthodox in the way I would necessarily not go out of my way to really stress my knee over my toes, say for lunges or squats. But at the same time, I also was a big believer that you can really progressively work a joint through a given working range of motion fairly safely, as long as there's no pain, and progressively kind of working into it. I'm a big believer that, yeah, if you don't use it, you essentially lose it. And that makes the case, eventually what his system is basically saying is that, yeah, if you never get in this position, if you're always kind of basically limiting your range of motion of what you do in your exercise and your daily movement, it makes sense that you're basically self-limiting yourself to the given ranges of motions and the integrity of that specific joint we're discussing. So he goes beyond talking just about the knees. He talks about the shoulders and even the hip. For right now, for the sake of this video, we're just going to talk about the knees specifically. All right, so sorry for that long and possibly honestly brief intro. I don't think I really did the system too much justice, but jumping right into a total gym and how these knees over toes exercise and philosophies kind of work together, really to me it seemed like a match made in heaven. And one of you guys in the comment section a while back suggested it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I definitely could see where this would work out well with a total gym, for the simple fact that one of the big arguments people say whenever they get a squat stand, especially like a stock small squat stand like I got here, even the larger squat stand, honestly, is that people often complain that they feel like they can't, and I've said this before too, guilty, that you really can't do a nice good squat because your knees are always over your toes or over your ankles. So if you want to honestly take advantage of this knees over toes philosophy with the total gym, honestly, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a match made in heaven, because there are so many things you can do in exercises where literally your knees go over your toes. From just the basic squat, and again, you can progress this with ankles flat, ankles off the ground. There's a lot of things he talks about activating the anterior tibialis, which I'm a big believer in as well, to pull yourself deeper into this range of motion, also increase ankle flexibility. So pulling yourself into dorsiflexion. If you guys know what that means, that's just pulling your toes towards your knee. But again, I can do this single leg, double leg, just by using the squat stand. I certainly could even lay down and go from this and get even to a deeper knees over toes position. And those of you guys, if you're new to the channel, this seems kind of easy. We can always load this up with bands, external weight, etc. So if you're someone who's like just finding this channel for the first time and seeing how you can really maximize this knees over toes capability or strengthening exercises, you can see there's a lot of parallels. So again, it's honestly a match made in heaven with that. You can go single leg, I'll show you the larger squat stand in a second. Single leg is probably even better. You can get more range of motion in the hip, more flexion at the knee, and you can progressively kind of work into that. And it should kind of go without saying, the great thing about a total gym is that you can increase or decrease the incline setting to progressively make it harder or easier. Not to mention the fact that if you're older and you're trying to take advantage of this knees over toes system, you have some basic support just actually leaning on an incline in the first place. So that also opens up a lot of doors for you. And then if we throw the larger squat stand, which even this one, some people kind of complain and they say, well, like even at this position, it's larger, but my knees are still over the toes. Again, which normally was something a negative thing and now is a positive thing if you're taking advantage of this training concept. Even when I go single leg on the larger squat stand with my foot a little bit higher, I still can get a nice knees over toe angle and still avoid that. You know, traditionally, whenever I would teach about these things or talk about it, I would talk about putting my hips back on the machine so you can get your knee more vertical on top of your ankle. But in this case, you know, if you're trying to take advantage of this whole training philosophy, you don't have to do that at all, and you can just kind of shift your body weight in different positions. What's also unique about using the total gym for this knees over toes stuff is that you can implement power a little bit easier and a little bit more safer. So I can start progressively upping the velocity a little bit. Conversely, if I was doing this, you know, standing with something else, it might be a little bit harder. And if you guys do look at their stuff, you'll see that's one of the kind of claims is that the more you strengthen, specifically even just this vastus medialis muscle on the inside of the leg, inside of the thigh, your power output increases. You're seeing people kind of claim their vertical jump or their dunking heights going up like 6 to 8 inches or something crazy like that. So, and I've even had students tell me this stuff anecdotally, that their knee pain kind of went away and they were increasing and jumping higher than ever before and even faster than ever before. So again, I haven't personally done it and maximized it and timed it myself, but very interesting stuff. Now, one of the big primary movement patterns that Ben Patrick stresses and emphasizes is a lunge pattern with your knees excessively going over your toes. Again, one of the things in the industry, in the fitness field, that we would, if someone saw it in the gym, someone would immediately run up to you and stop what you're doing and sell you guys a personal training session, which I kind of think is ironic and funny, because now the more I read these articles, people are talking as if they always knew this was the case and knees over toes was never a big issue. So that was kind of funny whenever I'm kind of looking at these articles. I would be guilty in saying, yeah, if I saw someone excessively doing that, not so much I'd be worried about their knees. That's not really wasn't my primary concern, although maybe that was something. To me, it was more emphasizing just kind of working a more neutral relationship between your quads, hamstrings, and glutes in this more 90-degree angle. I would always kind of say, like, someone could do it that might not necessarily get hurt. It's just kind of establishes more like a quad dominance. And again, I don't know how much of that is true or not, but that was just kind of my theory whenever I would do it. And so what's cool about a total gym is that we can maximize this progressive deep lunge that he talks about and enforces about getting to a position where that back knee is off the ground. And if you can get to the position where your knees are over your toes, almost to the point where your calf is almost touching the back of your hamstrings, he allows some people to kind of go on the off your heels as well to kind of get to that position, but doing lunges kind of just like that. And so for some people, this is kind of a hard progression. There's obviously things we can kind of work into, but if we got the total gym, maybe a larger squat stand or that Pilates bar attachment, we can use this as kind of a brace and also maximize the glide board to kind of slide in and out of that position. So there's a few ways you can do it, but one simple way is to just put your back leg on that glide board, give yourself some play with it, and then just think about dropping backwards with that leg and then reinforcing that other knee going forward on the total gym. So something like this, I'm kind of reaching and stretching. And the more I've been doing some reps, I did a couple off camera, you really do start to feel that on that interior quad muscle, that vastus medialis. So again, I can progressively get into it. I could go as deep as I want. And again, from here, I can maximize pushing up on here and using as much of this assistance from that squat stand as possible to come up. You can emphasize having that foot flat, coming up on your toes, whatever you kind of feel like working on for that particular day or where you're at. So I encourage you guys, I mean, he's got a lot of, great stretches, a lot of great hip flexor and also quad stretches that he emphasizes to really strengthen and kind of lengthen this area around not just the knee, but also the hip. So encourage you guys to check that out. But again, at Total Gym, there's so many ways. I had a couple of videos talking about how to maximize this back end, especially with the Pilates bar attachment. So I can go on this side, the other side, increase and decrease angles even on that position on the other side of the tower to work on getting into this stretch. But a lot of different opportunities, and I'll link that stretching video down below if you guys are curious. But a lot of ways to take advantage of even his stretches that he's talked about on his system. But that's really it, guys. I want to make this video somewhat short. If you want to see more exercises or stretches inspired from this knees over toe method, let me know. Be happy to share them with you. There's actually a lot more creative stuff you guys could do. I just want to simply show you using the squat stands and different heights of the squat stands and just the basic nature of a total gym or sliding bench trainer, how it honestly to me is a match made in heaven if you're looking to progressively work that knees over toes method for your own personal results. So any questions, comments, feedback, if you personally have been using this method and seeing results, definitely let me know. If you guys are the first time ever seen this before and you guys are kind of curious about it, I'd like to hear your guys' responses and comments as well. As always, checking out slidingbenchtrainer.com if you guys want to subscribe to the mailing list. I'm going to start slowly sending out some free stuff if you guys haven't subscribed already to get those free programs. Also, that's where you guys can find one-on-one coaching, the poster that I sell that has the program template pretty much to what I follow. But as always though, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys on the next video.